Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. The text from Mom came 3 weeks before Christmas, family dinner at our house. 4 p.m. sharp. Sarah's bringing her new boyfriend. Don't be late. No, how are you? No, hope you can make it. Just commands and Sarah's name, like always. I stared at my phone in my downtown Portland office, surrounded by whiteboards covered in product roadmaps and user acquisition metrics. My co-founder, Marcus, looked up from his laptop. Your mom, he asked. How'd you know? You get this look. Like you're preparing for battle. He wasn't wrong. Every family gathering was the same routine, Sarah's achievements celebrated, my work dismissed, and me expected to smile through it all while they treated my 5-year-old company like a hobby I'd eventually outgrow. She wants me at Christmas dinner, I said. Are you going? I should have said no. I should have claimed I had too much work, which was true. We were in final negotiations with 3 potential acquirers, and the term sheets were getting serious. The last thing I needed was my family's condescension. But some toxic part of me still wanted their approval. Still hoped that maybe this time would be different. Yeah, I said. I'm going. Marcus shook his head. You're a glutton for punishment, Jenna. My family had never understood what I did. When I quit my marketing job at 27 to launch Dataflow, a B2B analytics platform, they acted like I'd announced I was joining a cult. But you have a stable job with benefits, Dad had said, genuinely confused. Why would you throw that away? To build something, I'd explained. To create a product that helps companies make better decisions with their data. Mom had patted my hand. That's nice, dear. Very ambitious. But maybe keep the marketing job as a backup? Sarah, 2 years younger and infinitely more favored, had just completed her MBA and landed a corporate job at a pharmaceutical company. Entry-level analyst. $48,000 a year. But it was legitimate and stable and impressive. My startup, which had just secured $2.3 million in Series A funding. Risky and concerning and, when are you getting a real job? 5 years later, nothing had changed. Dataflow now had 42 employees, annual recurring revenue of $12 million, and enterprise clients including 3 Fortune 500 companies. We'd been featured in TechCrunch twice. Last month, I'd spoken at a major industry conference in front of 800 people. My family's response to all of this? Polite disinterest and thinly veiled concern that I was wasting my 30s on a little tech thing. Meanwhile, Sarah's promotion to junior analyst had warranted a celebration dinner and a congratulatory cake. Christmas Eve, I drove to my parents' house in the suburbs with a bottle of expensive wine and diminishing expectations. The house looked exactly the same as it had my entire childhood, modest brick exterior, slightly overgrown hedges, the same Christmas wreath on the door that had been there for 20 years. Sarah's Lexus, a gift from her boyfriend's parents, I'd learned, sat in the driveway. Already here, already inside being adored. I took a deep breath and went in. Jenna. Mom appeared immediately, taking my coat. You're late. We said 4 o'clock. I checked my phone. 4:07 p.m. Sorry, traffic was. Sarah's been here since 3:30. Such a considerate girl. Mom headed toward the kitchen. Come say hello to everyone. Derek is here, Sarah's boyfriend. He's a senior account manager at a consulting firm. Very successful. 6-figure salary. Of course. Because success was only measured in job titles they recognized. The living room was exactly as I'd imagined, Dad in his chair, Sarah on the couch next to a Ken doll handsome guy in a blazer, and Uncle Tom and Aunt Linda perched on the love seat looking uncomfortable. Jenna. Sarah jumped up, all fake enthusiasm. Finally. We were wondering if you'd make it. I'd been 7 minutes late. Hi, Sarah. I accepted her brief hug, feeling her diamond stud earrings, another gift from Derek's family, brush my cheek. Merry Christmas. This is Derek. She practically glowed as she introduced him. Derek, this is my older sister, Jenna. The one I told you about who does the computer stuff. Computer stuff. Like I was installing printers for a living. Derek stood and shook my hand with a grip that tried too hard. Great to meet you. Sarah says you have some kind of app? A B2B analytics platform, I corrected. We help enterprise companies optimize their data infrastructure and make predictive decisions based on real-time metrics. Blank stares. It's like business software, I simplified, immediately hating myself for dumbing it down. Oh, neat, Derek said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. So like, spreadsheets? Not exactly. Derek just closed a deal with a major healthcare provider, Sarah interrupted. $3 million. Tell her, babe. As Derek launched into a story about PowerPoint presentations and contract negotiations, I caught Mom watching me with that look. The one that said, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Dad cleared his throat from his chair. How's the startup going, Jenna? Still at it? Still at it. Like it was a diet I should have given up by now. Going well, I said carefully. We're expanding our sales team and just signed 2 new enterprise clients this quarter. That's nice, Mom said, appearing with a tray of cheese and crackers. But is it sustainable? I mean, at some point, don't you want stability? Maybe a husband and kids? I was 32. Sarah was 30 and had been dating Derek for 8 months. But somehow I was the one getting interrogated about my life choices. The company is very stable, I said, taking a cracker I didn't want. We're actually in a really strong position right now. Well, at least you're keeping busy, Aunt Linda offered kindly. What exactly do you do all day? I opened my mouth to explain product development, user acquisition strategies, and enterprise sales cycles, but Uncle Tom cut me off. She's one of those tech entrepreneur types, he said. You know, hoodies and beanbag chairs and ping pong tables. Saw it on TV. Our office did have a ping pong table, but using it to dismiss the 50-hour weeks I worked was insulting. It's a bit more complex than that, I said. Derek leaned forward, suddenly interested. Have you thought about an exit strategy? Because in consulting, we advise startups all the time. Most of them fail, you know. Like, 90% in the first 5 years. No offense. None taken, I lied. We've actually been approached by several potential acquirers. This was true. In fact, Marcus and I had spent the last 3 months in intense negotiations with Cloud Tech Systems, a publicly traded company with a market cap of $8 billion. They wanted our technology, our team, and our client relationships. The term sheet was sitting in my inbox right now, waiting for final signatures. The deal was worth $40 million. But I hadn't told my family any of this. Why would I? So they could dismiss it or find some way to make Sarah's annual bonus seem more impressive. Oh, acquirers, Dad said, chuckling. That's what they all say. Remember your cousin Tim's app idea? Said he'd be a millionaire. Now he's managing a Starbucks. Different situation, I said tightly. Is it though? Sarah tilted her head, mock sympathetic. I just worry about you, Jen. You've invested so much time in this, and if it doesn't work out, well, you're not getting any younger. It gets harder to find good jobs when you have gaps in your resume. Gaps. She was calling 5 years of building a successful company a gap. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Marcus with an update. We were expecting final word from Cloud Tech's board this week. Possibly today. Dinner's ready. Mom announced. Everyone to the table. Dinner was a masterclass in subtle humiliation. Mom had made prime rib, Sarah's favorite. My requests for the vegetarian side dishes I'd mentioned I was trying were forgotten. When I pointed this out, Mom looked confused. Oh, I thought that was just a phase. You're not really vegetarian, are you? Sarah got the first slice of meat, the best cut. Derek got the second. I got a thin piece from the end. The conversation revolved entirely around Sarah and Derek's accomplishments. Her recent presentation to upper management. His networking skills. Their plans to look at houses in the spring. A house. Mom practically squealed. Derek, your family must be so proud. They're helping with the down payment, Sarah said smugly. Derek's parents are so generous. When I needed a loan for initial startup costs 5 years ago, I'd been told it was too risky, and we just can't. That's wonderful, Aunt Linda said. And what about you, Jenna? Do you have anyone special? I've been focused on the company, I said. Still? Uncle Tom looked genuinely puzzled. How long are you going to do that? As long as it takes. Dad set down his fork. Here's what I don't understand. What happens if this startup thing doesn't work? You've spent your entire 30s on this. No husband, no kids, no stable career. What's your backup plan? The table went quiet. Everyone was looking at me. My phone buzzed again. Then again. Multiple notifications in quick succession. I don't need a backup plan, I said slowly. Because it is working. Mom reached over and patted my hand. Sweetheart, we're not trying to be harsh. We love you. We just want you to be realistic. Look at Sarah. She has a real job with a real salary and benefits. She's building a real life. And what am I building? Fake life? That's not what your mother meant, Dad interjected. We just mean, well, at least Sarah has security. Your little startup it's cute, Jenna. It really is. But it's time to grow up. Cute. They'd called my company cute. Sarah was practically glowing with superiority. I think what Mom and Dad are trying to say is that we're worried. This has been fun for you, like a hobby, but maybe it's time to consider more traditional options. I could probably get you an interview at my company. Entry level, but it's a start. Entry level. After 5 years of running a company with 42 employees. My phone was vibrating continuously now. Something was happening. Excuse me, I said, standing. I need to check this. Jenna, we're at dinner, Mom protested. Can't your little app wait? I walked into the kitchen, pulled out my phone, and saw 17 notifications. Messages from Marcus, from our lawyer, from board members. But it was the Wall Street Journal alert that made my heart stop. Breaking: Cloud Tech Systems acquires Dataflow Analytics for $40 million, deal expected to close Q1. My hands started shaking. They'd announced it. The deal was public. We'd signed the final papers at 3 p.m. today. I'd been so focused on getting to this dinner that I hadn't checked my phone since. Another text from Marcus: we did it. Call me when you can. Press is going crazy. Then another: New York Times just called. TechCrunch wants an interview. Bloomberg too. I walked back into the dining room in a daze. Everyone was eating pie, Mom's famous apple pie that she made special for Sarah because it was her favorite. Everything okay? Dad asked, barely looking up. I sat down. My slice of pie was smaller than everyone else's. Of course it was. Actually, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I have some news. Sarah rolled her eyes. Let me guess. Another exciting update about user metrics? Not exactly. I pulled up the Wall Street Journal article on my phone and set it in the middle of the table. My company was just acquired. For $40 million. The silence was deafening. Dad leaned forward, squinting at my phone. What? Dataflow Analytics, my cute little startup, was purchased by Cloud Tech Systems about 3 hours ago. The deal closed this afternoon. It's already been announced to the press. Mom grabbed my phone, her face going pale. $40 million? $40 million, I confirmed. The Wall Street Journal just broke the story. It'll be in the Times tomorrow. Sarah's fork clattered to her plate. That's not possible. It's very possible. It's done. I pulled up my email and showed them the signed term sheet, the press release, the congratulatory messages from investors. Cloud Tech wanted our technology and our client base. We negotiated for 3 months. Final signatures were today. Derek looked like he was doing math in his head. 40 million? For software? For AB2B analytics platform with 12 million in ARR, 42 employees, and Fortune 500 clients. Yes. Dad had gone completely white. Jenna, I don't understand. You said you had a startup. I do. I did. I built it from nothing 5 years ago. We just sold it to a publicly traded company for $40 million. Uncle Tom let out a low whistle. Jesus Christ. Mom was still staring at my phone. But you never said, you never told us. I tried. Multiple times. You called it cute. You told me to get a real job. You offered to help me get an entry-level position. I looked at Sarah, whose face had gone from pale to red. You suggested I was wasting my time. The dining room had become a tableau of shock. Sarah's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Derek looked like someone had punched him. Dad was gripping his napkin so hard his knuckles were white. How much do you personally get? Aunt Linda asked, the only one practical enough to ask the real question. I own 32% of the company. Marcus, my co-founder, owns 31%. The rest is distributed among employees and early investors. Derek was definitely doing math now. 32% of 40 million is $12.8 million, I said. Before taxes. Dad made a choking sound and actually did start coughing on his pie. Mom had to pound him on the back. When he recovered, he just stared at me. $12 million. Give or take. The deal includes performance incentives and retention bonuses since I'm staying on as a division president. Total compensation over the next 3 years should be around 18 million. Sarah stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This isn't fair. Excuse me? This isn't fair. Her voice cracked. I did everything right. I got my MBA. I got a good job. I followed all the rules. You just played with computers and got lucky. Lucky? I stood too. I worked 80-hour weeks for 2 years. I went into debt to fund the initial development. I pitched to 73 investors before anyone would listen. I was rejected, mocked, and dismissed. By everyone. Including this family. We were trying to protect you, Mom said weakly. Protect me? You told me I was wasting my life. That I needed a real job. A backup plan. I looked around the table. Every single family gathering for 5 years, you've made me feel like a failure. Like my work was worthless. Like I was the disappointing daughter. We never said that, Dad protested. You didn't have to. It was in every comment, every dismissive question, every time you celebrated Sarah's annual 2% raise while ignoring that my company was growing 300% year over year. Sarah's eyes were wet with angry tears. So what, you're rich now and we're supposed to just be happy for you? That would be nice, yes. That's what families do. You've always thought you were better than me, Sarah spat. Always. No, Sarah. You always thought you were better than me. Better job, better boyfriend, better life. You've spent 5 years pitying me while I built something you couldn't even comprehend. Derek tried to interject. Look, maybe everyone should calm down. Who are you again? I turned to him. Oh right. The senior account manager with the 6-figure salary. How much exactly? Because I'm genuinely curious what number we were supposed to be impressed by. His face flushed. That's private. I'll guess. Probably around 120? 130 with bonus? His expression confirmed it. I made more than that in stock options this quarter. Jenna, that's enough, Mom said sharply. There's no need to be cruel. Cruel? Cruel? I laughed, and it sounded harsh. You want to talk about cruel? Let's talk about every Christmas, every Thanksgiving. Every birthday where I was made to feel like my accomplishments meant nothing. Where Sarah got champagne toasts for getting promoted from assistant analyst to junior analyst, and I got, that's nice, dear, when I told you we'd secured Fortune 500 clients. Aunt Linda spoke softly. We didn't know, Jenna. We didn't understand. Because you didn't ask. You didn't want to know. It was easier to dismiss what I did than to try to understand it. My phone rang. Marcus. I answered on speaker. Jenna. Have you seen the news? It's everywhere. Bloomberg, Reuters, Forbes, everyone's covering it. We're trending on Twitter. The office is going crazy. I'm actually at my family's Christmas dinner, I said. Oh shit. Sorry. Should I call back? No, it's fine. They just found out. There was a pause. From the Journal? Yes. Oh man. How's that going? I looked around the table at the shocked, pale faces. About how you'd expect. Marcus laughed. Well, congratulations, partner. We fucking did it. We're going to be on the cover of TechCrunch tomorrow. They want an exclusive interview. I'll call you in an hour. Cool. And Jenna? Your family can officially eat shit. I smiled. Thanks, Marcus. I hung up. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Dad spoke. Jenna, I don't know what to say. You could start with congratulations. Of course, congratulations. This is incredible. I just wish you'd told us sooner. Would you have believed me? Or would you have told me not to get my hopes up? He didn't answer. Mom was crying now, quietly. We're proud of you, sweetheart. We really are. Are you? Or are you just shocked that your disappointing daughter turned out to be successful? That's not fair, Sarah said, but her voice was weak. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I grabbed my coat from the rack. I came here hoping, stupidly hoping, that maybe this time would be different. That maybe you'd ask about my work, show some interest, treat me like my life mattered. Instead, you called my company cute. You told me to get a real job. You offered me an entry-level position like I was a charity case. Where are you going? Mom asked. Back to Portland. I have interviews to give and a team to celebrate with. People who actually appreciate what we built. Jenna, please, Dad stood. Stay. Let's talk about this. Now you want to talk? Now that there's a number attached to my success that you can understand? It's too late, Dad. Sarah was full on crying now. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I looked at her, really looked at her. My little sister who'd always been golden, always been praised, always been enough. I know you are, I said quietly. But sorry doesn't undo 5 years of being treated like a failure. I walked to the door. Behind me, I heard chairs scraping, voices calling my name. Jenna, wait, Mom called. The presents. Keep them, I said. Consider it a gift from the daughter with the little tech thing. I drove back to Portland with tears streaming down my face, not from sadness, but from pure, overwhelming relief. The weight I'd been carrying for 5 years, the constant need to prove myself, the desperate desire for their approval, it all fell away. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from former colleagues, from investors, from friends I hadn't spoken to in years. All congratulating me. All celebrating this massive win. When I got back to my apartment, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The Wall Street Journal article was beautiful. They'd called Dataflow innovative and game-changing. They'd quoted industry analysts saying the acquisition was a steal for cloud tech. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad. Voicemail. Sarah. Voicemail. 7 calls in 30 minutes. Finally, I listened to one of Sarah's messages. Jenna, please pick up. I'm so sorry. I was awful. I was jealous and petty and I didn't understand what you were building. Please call me back. I love you. I'm so sorry. Maybe one day I'd forgive them. Maybe one day we'd rebuild our relationship. But not tonight. Not this week. But not tonight. Not this week. Tonight, I had a company to celebrate, a team to thank, and a future to plan. I texted Marcus, dinner was a disaster. Family found out from Wall Street Journal. Meet me at the office in 20? We're celebrating. His response was immediate, already here. Champagne is cold. You're a goddamn legend. I smiled, grabbed my keys, and headed out. My family had spent 5 years treating my dreams like they were worthless. The Wall Street Journal disagreed. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't care what my family thought. I was enough. My work was enough. And $12.8 million proved it. Have you ever had family dismiss your success until it was too big to ignore? How did you handle it? Share your story below. Tonight, I had a company to celebrate, a team to thank, and a future to plan. I texted Marcus, dinner was a disaster. Family found out from Wall Street Journal. Meet me at the office in 20? We're celebrating. His response was immediate, already here. Champagne is cold. You're a goddamn legend. I smiled, grabbed my keys, and headed out. My family had spent 5 years treating my dreams like they were worthless. The Wall Street Journal disagreed. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't care what my family thought. I was enough. My work was enough. And $12.8 million proved it. Have you ever had family dismiss your success until it was too big to ignore? How did you handle it? Share your story below.